Soon, me dear. It's almost time.
True love can be hard to find. For some, it takes a lifetime. For him, it took 1,000 years.
God bless you.
And now that he's finally found her, he's going to love her.
I'm back.
To death.
Kiss me. I'm Irish.
Welcome to They Called This Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Called This Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Called This Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Top of the morning, friends.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? I think I put a combination of things together. Now, this doesn't need to have a reaction from you guys. It's just something I observed and just wondering if the people listening had it as well. I'm going through the first thing of realizing, another person getting obsessed with a genre of movie. Because I, took my niece to see Scream 6, and immediately she's talking to me about, how do I watch other movies on this? What websites? Are they on Netflix? Are they on this? Just wanting to go see more movies similar to Scream. And it was just like, this is like your thing now. Okay, this is cool. Just got to remember she's 11. Don't be throwing out like Saw movies yet, I guess. But I don't know if anybody out there that's listening has little sisters or nieces, nephews, or whatever. It's always fun to see them develop their entertainment personality. And it seems to be fun when they are genre fans. Like my oldest niece is just whatever's popular, pop culture, top 40 radio, all that stuff, kind of boring in that respect. While this one is very niche, and I'm sure I'm going to be coming to you guys for recommendations in the next 5 or so years to introduce her to her stuff. But yeah, just an observation from the weekend, which combined with going to MonsterCon, which I might take her to next year with us, that it seems to be cooler to have the younger person that's into a specific thing instead of like generic popular.
Okay. Now, question for you, because you're not a big horror person.
No.
Like, are you happy she's getting into the horror stuff, seeing as how it seems like you're going to be the one that has to shepherd her into this? Or would you rather her to latch on to the OC or something like that?
No, I like this more because the older one like watched Vampire Diaries and did all that and liked all that stuff. And like I said, that's not a hot take. It just seemed like generic, just going with the flow and what kids like sort of thing. But the youngest one picking out something like Scream of all things to want to watch all 6 of them at some point. Like I showed her all the stuff I bought at MonsterCon for her, and she got really excited and then wanted to know all the details about how the con was, what it was. I think doing this, maybe it'll help me learn things. Maybe she can teach me things and it'll make her feel good. Going, Uncle Mark, I got this great movie. You should check it out. Just have her have that joy of introducing someone to something from that respect. But I will lean on you guys heavily if need be for things. But yeah, I like this a lot better just because, I don't know, maybe it's a surprise of not knowing what she's going to latch on to next. And I think if she was about 10 to 15 years older, I think her and Jen would be best friends. Because it's like all the same thing.
I'm on the complete opposite spectrum. If I have a kid, or I have a niece, she's 1, so I can't show her anything. She wouldn't understand it. But whenever she's old enough, or if I have a kid and when they're old enough, I plan on showing them horror movies early because I was exposed to horror movies early. I was probably 9 or 10 when I first watched horror movies. So
Yeah, you line right up with Ash, because we went and saw Scream 5 when she was roughly 10.
yeah,
So
I think it's healthy to show
Yeah.
kids horror
Yeah.
movies in a weird way.
Make sure you pick the right age, because my brother-in-law showed the older one Scream when she was 4 and had nightmares for about 6 months. So
Yeah.
you don't want to go too young.
Yeah,
Right
4
off
is a
the
little
bat.
extreme.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was watching Ghostbusters 2 and Ghostbusters at 4. And I mean,
It's true.
those aren't horror movies, but the end of Ghostbusters 2 with Vigo,
Yeah.
and when he
Sure.
when he possesses Ray, scared the shit out of me when I was 4.
Yeah.
But I kept turning it back on like the next day to watch it. So
Well, when we were younger, we were kids of the 80s. That was the only period in time really where kids cartoons and some kid movies were dark. I know a big example is Return to Oz, right?
Mhm.
That's a very dark kids movie. And I remember watching that. I was probably 5 or 6. So I had an early introduction to horror and darker movies.
Yeah, it'll just depend on the kid, obviously, because you probably could have shown Ash Scream at 4 and she would have loved it, sort of, or 5 or 6, and it could just be the kid. I have a friend his cousin, like that person's daughter was like all into 80s slasher stuff at like 7, and it was just like posters on the wall, going out of them for Halloween, all that stuff. So it tends to be the kid. From my perspective, I'm just going to foster whatever she loves. Let her see what movie she likes, and I'll help take her. I'll buy her video games and, introduce her to stuff like that. I'm not going to force her to do things for the sake of that's what everyone else does. I think that's what I love about watching Ash grow up, is that she tends to do what she wants and not what the general kids at 11 are doing. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, speaking of horror movies, this week we were watching a horror movie. As Dan tipped off with his cultural appropriation, he said top of the morning to you or whatever.
I'm allowed to say that, all right?
This is St. Patrick's Day. This episode is actually dropping on St. Patrick's Day. So we have the little tradition here, although we did it out of order. And I still stand by the order we did it in, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We watched Leprechaun 2 this week. Because we watched Leprechaun 1 last year. And yeah, we're all out of order, but who gives a fuck? Time is meaningless.
It doesn't seem to matter after watching this movie,
No.
which one you see first.
No. But I do want to get into where you guys are coming from with Leprechaun 2. So Dan, why don't you start us off? Where are you coming from?
I could have sworn I'd seen this movie, but I think Mark is correct. It makes no difference how you watch these movies.
Mm-hmm.
They're all the same, one way or the other. It's Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun just looking for something and making really bad rhyming puns. But this might be the worst one of them all.
Interesting.
Because 3 was in Vegas, so you had the Vegas gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Leprechaun in the Hood, so you have that gimmick. And then after that, does he go to space?
Space.
He goes to space.
4.
And then he goes back to the Hood.
Right.
Which is a
back-to-back
weird...
movies, he's in the Hood.
Oh, back-to-back, then space?
So it's 1 is the one with Jennifer Aniston, 2 is the one we just watched, 3 is Vegas, 4 is space,
Oh,
5
is space. Okay.
5 is in the Hood, 6 is back to the Hood.
Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah, at least they all had gimmicks. They had something else going on. This was nothing. It was a regression from the first movie because now it's more slapstick and goofy. This might be the whitest cast I've ever seen. They're all super lame and just made me very cringy. I got bored watching this. I hated every second of it. I hate you for doing this to us. Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a movie where I've hated it, but here we are. I hated Leprechaun 2. It sucked. I don't know what else to say.
All right. Mark, what about you? Where are you coming from with Leprechaun 2?
Yeah, so I don't go as far as Dan with hate it, but I think this movie was much more, they leaned into the comedy over the horror I guess maybe they thought that would sell better. I mean, I don't remember. I know Leprechaun had its humorous moments in there, but it was still more of a horror monster type movie. Yeah, this movie was just really boring, and things I didn't understand where they were going with certain things. It seems like a lot of parts of the movie were just written in pieces, like that third guy, the first guy that dies, the one that thought he was going to motorboat some boobies, and then it ended up being a lawnmower. Him being like involved in this not love triangle with the girl at the go-kart races, and the death tour thing was its own little section that had our old friend Clint Howard in it. It felt like when you do a movie like this, and even the Leprechauns after this, there seemed to be more of a pattern, and this felt all over the place in terms of kills, when people died, how fast the Leprechaun showed up at places. Like I said, I guess because they were trying to play it more for laughs than suspense and scares, that they didn't really know how to do that yet. Yeah, I wish there was a little more, like, not randomness to the killings. Yeah, the last thing was what I mentioned was seeing the end of this movie. You're like, oh, how does he get to Vegas? Like what? Because he was inside a safe with a necklace on, I think, in the beginning of Vegas. And I thought that's how this movie was going to end, especially when they showed the safe. In this one's like, oh, they're going to connect them, and then that didn't happen.
None of them are connected. It seems, because in the first one he gets turned to stone, I believe.
Yeah.
And then in this one he's locked in a tree.
Yeah.
And then in the third one, he's in the safe.
He's not in a safe. He is, again, turned to stone by an amulet.
Oh, yeah. But he's blown up at the end of this. Spoiler alert. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, he gets blowed up.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't turn to stone. I guess the only ones that would connect would probably be, and we haven't seen it yet, but seeing the Hood and Back to the Hood. I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of thread there.
Well, we have seen when he goes to the Hood. We saw the first one.
Yeah. Right. But we didn't see Back to the Hood.
We haven't seen Back to the Hood.
I don't know if the ending carries over there.
As for me, I didn't hate this movie. This is the first time I'm watching it. I didn't hate it. I disliked To the Hood, or In the Hood, much more than this movie. I thought this was kind of boring, but it's also just super cheap looking. And then I'm fine with it. I think 3, as of the ones that we've seen, I think 3 is still my favorite. The Vegas one. I think they have a lot more fun in that one than the other ones we have seen so far. 4, I think, is also probably second best, honestly, because it's in space. None of these movies are particularly good, and I will preface any conversation about what's the best one with that statement, is that none of these movies are good. But I don't know. It was an hour and 25 minutes, and I was okay with that. It didn't feel super long to me. I like seeing Jerry Seinfeld's dad's friend play Morty in this one.
That's Sandy Barron.
Yeah, Sandy Barron, who played Jack Klompus in Seinfeld with the astronaut pen.
Did he sound, to me, he sounded like the guy who voices Roger Myers Jr. on The Simpsons, but I don't think it's him.
It's not, because Roger Myers Jr. is the guy that plays Mo Green in The Godfather.
Was that Rocco or
Alex
something like
Rocco,
that?
yeah.
Alex Rocco, yeah. I was closing my eyes like, man, that sounds just like Roger Myers Jr.
No, it does sort of sound like him, but yeah. Speaking of voices, the main actress in this has some very interesting line readings in this, where she just goes super deep.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
I am confused by it a great deal.
Because I didn't know what was happening, because she gets captured, right? The leprechaun captures her, and he puts this little like necklace around her, and she starts talking like this. And, what are you gonna do with me? Wait, what happened? Is she okay? Is that her distressed voice?
Yeah, I don't know, because it happens and then it doesn't happen. It's all over the place. At first I thought she had an Irish brogue at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then she didn't. And then it seemed like a lot of her dialogue was ADR'd.
Her and the other guy, Ian.
Yeah, at least the stuff on like the outside, the exteriors seemed like maybe they fucked up in some scenes and they got terrible audio, so they had to ADR it.
Yeah. I was wondering, what if Bridget, the actress, tried to do an Irish brogue and it sounded terrible. Like, yeah, like just don't do that for the rest of the film. And they didn't have the time or the money to kind of go back and do reshoots for it.
Yeah.
It's basically a Halle Berry from X-Men when she tries to do the African accent.
Yeah. You remember Jiminy Glick, the Martin Short show?
Yeah.
Where he would have his normal voice, and then he'd go real low all of a sudden. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, it caught me off guard, to say the least.
Yeah, because like when she thinks he's dead, she's like, "Oh my god, he's dead!" Like, where did that voice come from?
Yeah, I don't understand what happened. Maybe she was trying to sound. She was worried or stressed out. Maybe that's what she was going for. And it's frightening.
That very much felt like we are only doing 2 takes of this. That's the best one. Yeah, we'll keep that deep voice. Sure. Like, we don't have enough time to shoot a third one to tell her not to do that.
Yeah. It must have been just they didn't have time. We can't do the reshoots if that's what she's going for. Fine.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's not even the worst thing that she did, because that same year she was in Tammy and the T-Rex, apparently.
I know. Yep.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's talk about some bad choices.
Well, she's lucky she's pretty.
It's true. Yeah, she. I was hoping it would have been so funny if there was a scene where her, Bridget and Cody they're together and she's doing that weird, like the deep voice, and he's just like, "What the hell's the matter with you? Are you okay?"
Yeah, it was weird. It's also in Rage and Honor.
She's in Rage and Honor.
Ooh.
It's the Cynthia Rothrock. Yeah.
Wow.
Right, we covered that, right? Did we covered that one? Yes.
We covered a Cynthia Rothrock movie.
I feel like this is the one we covered. Yeah, we did.
That sounds about right.
Is that the one where she beats up the guys at the ATM?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. It's one of the best fight scenes ever.
Yeah.
Our second Siobhan Durkin movie. There you go.
Yeah, I think we need to start a slightly tangent. We need to start finding some more Cynthia Rothrock movies to watch on this podcast.
You know what? I had a feeling you were going to say that, Mark, because at the Monster Mania this weekend, you specifically pointed out a Cynthia Rothrock DVD. Like, ooh, look, Cynthia Rothrock.
Mhm.
I think you have a thing for Cynthia Rothrock, don't you?
I have a thing for badass chicks. So
Yeah,
He's got a kicking fetish.
that's why I made us watch Vendetta twice. Sure. Ant lost the podcast. I didn't hack into his computer and delete it.
Yep.
Now I know what to get you for your birthday. Just a lot of Cynthia Rothrock stuff. Do you think she's on Cameo?
That would be amazing.
I wonder.
If so, I'm 100% getting that for your birthday, Mark. So it says here you like the Philadelphia Phillies and getting kicked.
Now, you know who would have made Leprechaun 2 better?
Cynthia Rothrock.
Cynthia Rothrock.
Yeah.
I don't think Leprechaun stands a chance against Cynthia Rothrock, to be honest with you.
No.
It's a short movie.
His 2 biggest weaknesses, wrought iron and Cynthia Rothrock's righteous kicks.
Just kick him into the sun.
Wow. And he does like a little... what was that? I don't know what that was. I'm sorry.
I don't know, man. But yeah, so we've also done Clint Howard movies before, haven't we? Or we just made fun of Clint Howard last time?
We roasted Clint Howard for no reason.
He wasn't even in a movie that we watched.
No, but I like squealed with glee when he showed up in this movie. I was so happy to see Clint Howard. Yeah, I don't know. What else is there about this movie? I think something, it doesn't bother me, but I noticed the Leprechaun kind of has, like, the rules of the Leprechaun movies change to fit the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
There's no consistency.
Yeah. So he can, certain things he's been able to do consistently, right? Like he can change the physical properties of things sometimes.
Yeah.
And he can
throw his voice a lot. Like he could imitate others quite often, I feel like.
Right. So, but has he ever been able to control the dead? Like resurrect skeletons and stuff like that? I don't remember any of that.
I don't remember us seeing that before.
Well, it seems like every Leprechaun movie, someone has a different Leprechaun lore book that has different rules in it.
Yeah, and he's always searching for something different, it seems, right? In the first one, he's searching for his gold. In the second one, he's searching for a bride. The third one is the amulet, I think.
Yes.
And then in space, I forget what he does in space. Is he just looking for
I think
gold?
I think he's just fucking shit up, right? I feel like he's not
Yeah.
searching for anything in 4, but he's teaming up with like the princess. I don't remember what they were on about.
Me neither. I don't remember space that well. But in the hood, it's back to the amulet, I think. Or it's like it's a flute.
No, it's a flute. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's constantly just looking for different things
Yeah.
that are never introduced in prior movies.
Yeah, it seems like he was just trying to become king of some sort of planet in 4.
It's weird. Like,
Yeah.
imagine if Jason or Freddy, every movie they were trying to, there was like some new MacGuffin that they were after. It kind of it would take away from their lore, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the most part, each of those movies series, their rules and their lore is consistent. The only exception is 2 in Nightmare on Elm Street. They really didn't understand what Freddy was about because he's like all of a sudden he's possessing the kid in that, so it just doesn't quite make as much sense as the other ones.
Yeah, and they kind of mess with the lore in that one too because it's told in the first one if you bring him into the real world, it's like he's not as powerful, like he doesn't have his powers. But in the second one, he's able to do things, and he can manipulate matter in the real world. So they kind of it was in flux, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I mean it was only the second movie,
right? But then what they wound up doing was adding new gimmicks essentially to Freddy, or the Dream Warriors, or was it he can possess the unborn fetus of a woman. So but it was all in the dream world. Yeah.
I do kind of like the gimmick of Leprechaun where it's just like the pitch is always just what if Leprechaun is here?
Yeah. That's a good
like
point.
This one's kind of boring. It's just like what if Leprechaun was in LA?
Yeah.
What would he do? And Leprechaun, what if he was in Vegas? Which tons of fun. Leprechaun in space, obvious way to go,
Right. And in the third movie in Vegas, he interacts with his surroundings a little bit, right?
Yeah.
He's in the casinos. There's the Elvis impersonator. In this movie, he does not interact with LA at all.
No.
So that it would have been cool to see him go down like Rodeo Drive or something like that. Is that in LA? I'm not 100% sure.
It is, yeah. Or winds up in Hollywood and he like wanders onto like a set or the back lot of Warner Brothers or something, the equivalent of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, that would have been cool, right? Because like say maybe there's a slasher movie being filmed and he murders someone, like, oh wow, the special effects are great,
Yeah. Or like, hey buddy, you're due on set in 2 minutes. What are you doing?
They pull a Jingle All the Way. Exactly. Yeah, that would have been awesome. Or he winds up in the hills or something, just terrorizing some rich folk.
Just ripping lines off of mirrors at some Hollywood party.
Yeah.
There we go. That would have been a much better scene than anything else in this movie.
That'd be so much fun.
Right. Oh, and plus that's the perfect timing for it, right? Like that was rampant in the 90s, 80s and 90s.
I'm pretty sure it's still rampant.
Yeah. They probably don't talk about it as much.
Yeah. Like what if Leprechaun like gets captured by like a movie producer or like a struggling movie producer, right? So he starts wishing for like, oh, I want my next movie to be a hit. Boom, it becomes a hit. So now he's like among the Hollywood elite. And then,
you know what? And I thought they were kind of doing something like that because the Leprechaun gets approached by some random dude on the street, like, oh, I'm a talent acquisition, like, whatever. And then he rips his finger off because it has a gold ring on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that would have been great. Hey, that's a great getup, kid. Here's my card if you want a job. And you could kind of go from there. He goes on a killing spree when he's on a movie set or whatever. But he doesn't interact with anybody.
And he gets ingrained in like a movie studio and he becomes like the exec producer. And then he starts granting people that come to him wishes, but for a price, right?
Yes. Yeah, there you go. And you can have it where Bridget is a wannabe actress, right? Mm-hmm. So in order to become famous, he kind of he pulls the rug out from under her, like, oh, I'll give you a shot, lass, and it's terrible. I'll give you a shot, lass, but in order to do it, you're gonna have to give me your heart or whatever, you know. And the girl's like, whatever. That's just random bullshit or whatever.
You're gonna have to give me gold.
Yeah, I want like
Points on the back end.
But yeah, like how great would that be? And now she's betrothed to the leprechaun, but she has to try to get out of it. You know, she doesn't want to get Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, the gold in this movie is the overseas markets.
What, China?
Yeah, it's like this movie's gotta be a hit. That's where me gold is.
Yeah, so someone like an executive explains to him the overseas markets. Like, oh wow, there's a whole untapped revenue in China. This is great.
Yep.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Right, Warwick Davis, the Leprechaun's trying to set up like a female lead or something like that, and one of the executives, hey, you know, listen, Mr. Leprechaun, that's not going to play well in China. Oh, what does it matter? That's where all our money comes from. Oh, gotcha. Perfect. It's all coming in.
Man, Warwick Davis, if you are listening, we'll pitch this. We'll do it. We'll do it nice and official. This is a really good idea.
We could probably come up with a script in a weekend for that.
Oh, absolutely. As long as we're ripping lines off mirrors, absolutely. Vince McMahon style, baby.
Oh yeah.
I can see Mark just red in the face, shirtless, just let's write this movie, brother. I can see a scene right now in our movie. They're in a board meeting and the Leprechaun's asking for movie pitches or for like scripts.
Sure.
And one of the executives throws him a script and the Leprechaun hates it and he just murders the executive in front of everybody in a gruesome way.
Yeah.
Oh,
he impales him on an Emmy.
Oh, that'd be great. Or he levitates the Emmy and throws it through his eye or something.
Yeah.
Oh, hilarious. And everyone is just like too afraid to react kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like RoboCop.
Exactly.
Right? When the dude gets blown away by Ed 209. And we're just like, oh, all right. Well,
the guy's like, you can tell me no. You know how many Emmys I have? And he's like, this one over here, and then
oh yeah,
slices his throat.
Yeah.
With the wings.
No, but I know you have this one, and then kills him.
Yes.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have any bad ideas? And they just kind of like shrink down a little bit. I knew that was a bad idea, Mr. Leprechaun. I told him it was a bad idea.
I like this idea. This is a really good Leprechaun movie, to be honest.
It is.
It might be the best Leprechaun movie that's ever existed.
Leprechaun takes Hollywood.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And we know Warwick Davis is still working. He just did Willow for Disney Plus.
There you go. We just got to get it. We'll slide into his DMs.
Yes. Does he have Twitter? Because I'm in on it, man. I'll tweet him all day.
Just one a simple DM. It just says Leprechaun and takes Hollywood.
Call me.
See, Warwick Davis. Does he have a? He does.
Warwick Davis. My God.
Mm-hmm. You could message him directly too. Ooh, baby.
I think we all should.
So, Leprechaun 2 from 1994 is directed by Rodman Flender. Fake name, it's gotta be. He's Rodman Flender.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, there's a photo of him. He looks like he looks like the dollar store James Gunn.
Yeah, I saw it. He's directed Idle Hands and a bunch of television movie shows, including episodes of Party of Five, Millennium, Dawson's Creek, The OC, The Office, among others.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah, he's got a very long TV career, like a bunch of episodes from different shows. Stars Warwick Davis, Charlie Heath, Siobhan Durkin, Sandy Barron, Adam Beesk, Kimmy Robertson, Clint Howard, and Michael McDonald. IMDb score of 4.6 and Rotten Tomatoes score of 6%. Budget $2 million. Box office $2.2 million.
That surprises me that they wound up making more of Leprechaun movies.
Well, this was the last one that went to theaters before the reboot. So 3, 4, 5, and 6 were all direct to videos.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like Leprechaun is made for direct to video, to be honest with you. That's like the perfect place for it. like
Yeah.
among the Ginger Dead Mans and the Ice Cream Man. Speaking of Clint Howard, Dr. Giggles.
This would be a good like Tubi original.
Yeah, Tubi could probably take up the mantle of the Leprechaun movies. Yeah,
Yeah. What do they have to lose? You know.
right. And we've got a perfect synopsis for it. We got a great pitch for it already.
How amazing would it be to get your start pitching a Leprechaun movie in Hollywood?
Yeah, I'm for it.
Why not, right?
So in our pitch, did we ever decide where it takes place?
In Hollywood.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to put in. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Leprechaun takes Hollywood.
There we go.
Hollywood,
Okay.
Hollywood, Florida, though, not Hollywood, California.
That would be great. He got confused.
Yeah. And we could get Samara Weaving. She would be the final girl because she's great in horror movies.
Sure. I mean, it's to be original. Let's shoot lower.
Yeah, temper expectations.
Yeah. Gina Gershon. You guys want to get into plot?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
Dan, what do you got for us?
All right, guys. Gonna shout out a couple of our friends of the podcast. Number one, Top 10 with Tia. Go to geekvibesnation.com and search Top 10 with Tia. It's a weekly podcast with our good friend Tia. She's been on the show plenty of times. Her and her friend Brittany run down their top 10 lists of the week. And also our good friends at the Game Vault Podcast. It's a bi-weekly podcast where Mark, Tom, and Jen, who we had on recently, discuss gaming news, play old video games. They stream. Go to Game Vault Pod on Twitch and follow all their socials on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Game Vault Pod.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break. And you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast.
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for Leprechaun 2. We open on Ireland once upon a time as a man in peasant clothes and shackles runs through the forest at night until the leprechaun uses his powers to stop him dead in his tracks. His name is William, the man in chains, and he's the leprechaun's slave. This happens to be the leprechaun's 1000th birthday and also St. Patrick's Day. And Leprechaun says that on his 1000th birthday, he can claim a wife. And he says that he already has the girl picked out and that all he has to do is have her sneeze 3 times. And if no one saves her soul, she will be his.
That's one of my favorite tropes in this. Or not tropes, but rules in this movie.
Yep.
Is not once, not twice, but thrice.
And if he does get a wife, then that means William will go free. So they go to see the girl, and it turns out that the girl he's selected for his bride is William's own daughter. William begs the leprechaun not to pick her, and that he'll help him find a different woman to wed. But the leprechaun makes her sneeze 3 times, and then William says, "God bless you," to her and runs. I guess God bless you means that he saved her soul, because then the leprechaun gets pissed.
Again, just changing the lore. Or changing the rules, essentially, or just making it up as you go along.
Pretty much, yeah. But I guess that this is the movie's way of explaining how God Bless You has come about. William gets caught in Leprechaun's telekinesis powers, and Leprechaun curses William as he sends him up into the air. It says that 1,000 years from now, he will seek out William's fairest offspring and make her his bride. And he kills William, and daughter runs out over and screams.
I definitely think too hard into things, but maybe I was thinking, like, this looks a little advanced for 900s Ireland. if it's supposed to be 1,000 years, before he comes back.
Was it the clothesline?
I don't know. It just seemed like it was, I don't know. It just felt like it was more medieval in terms of like 1400s. Like maybe, again, I'm thinking too much into it.
Probably.
But yeah, but it was just, it felt like somebody they had to do the 1,000 years thing and nobody took any time to do research to make it seem like the 900s. But I'm definitely thinking too much into it.
I think. Oh, go ahead, Ant.
I was just gonna say. I mean, they really only show you the woods, a girl, a dude in chains, and a leprechaun, and that's really it. And then a clothesline. That's about it.
The material used for the clothesline was obviously not in production in the 900s. Yeah, is what I'm trying to say.
There's this $2 million budget, don't forget.
The Leprechaun movies always kind of play it fast and loose with time, because usually the Leprechaun knows of things that he would have no way of knowing.
Yeah,
right. Because in when he goes to the hood, he knows about what does he know about? Does he know about certain music? How would he know the music?
Right.
And in this movie, he knows about Novocaine. He knows about KFC. He knows about Snow White. He would not know any of these things.
Right.
So, yeah, who knows what's going on with the time aspect of the Leprechaun. Mm-hmm. It's something that will be addressed in Leprechaun Takes Hollywood.
Yes, it will. We'll have answers to all your questions in Leprechaun Takes Hollywood. We then cut to credits as a leprechaun looks over handmade drawings of William's bloodline as the years go on, from Ireland until the family makes it to the US and into the 90s. We then transition into 90s LA as Bridget, the latest in the line of the O'Day family, as she meets her boyfriend Cody, who works as a tourist trap tour guide. Cody has outkicked his coverage so hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, big time.
Because he's a loser, besides the fact that his girlfriend is gorgeous.
And he's a bad actor, too, to boot.
Yeah, and the fact that these people still get conned into the scam, despite the fact that she's rolling her eyes at everything 5 feet from them.
Yeah. I mean, she does have that weird tick where she just drops her voice down really low. So maybe she's not such a catch. But she does that in bed.
He definitely... I'm assuming he kind of negged her.
Probably. Yeah.
Like, oh, babe, your voice. No one's gonna love you. I love you in your voice. So
yeah,
you got to be with me.
Well, that would be consistent with Uncle Morty, right? Because Uncle Morty's probably taught him like how to pick up women, and Uncle Morty would probably just just be a piece of shit to them.
Yeah, you prey on the women with low self-esteem.
Yeah. And Cody is in the middle of trying to convince Clint Howard and Kimmy Robertson to go on his hearse tour to the death places of the stars. Eventually, he gets them to agree to the tour, as well as another Midwestern couple. And they go off to find Morty, Cody's uncle, who is the one that usually runs the tours. They go to their shared apartment, but Morty isn't there. Cody sees a flyer for a St. Patrick's Day special at a bar and knows that his uncle would be there. Sure enough, Cody finds his uncle drunk at the bar, trying to convince another drunk guy to invest in their business. The bartender gives Cody a bucket of ice water, and Cody and Morty go into the bathroom to try and sober up by having Morty dunk his head into the water. Cody's trying to rush his uncle to get ready to give the tour because he and Bridget have plans to meet up with friends as the go-kart track, but it's very clear that Morty is in no shape to drive. Morty says they could just give the money back and cancel the tour, but Cody relents, as his uncle always told him that there's no such thing as refunds. So Morty drives the tour. Cody drives the tour with Bridget in the front seat and winds up getting chased off by the person currently living in the house Cody claims was the final resting place of Bela Lugosi. He then takes the group to the ruins of Harry Houdini's mansion, and the homeless guy scares them away by merely existing. The homeless guy then goes to take a whiskey-assisted nap in front of a tree that was gifted to Houdini by his friends from Killarney Island. And when he goes to sleep, the leprechaun uses his telekinesis to steal the whiskey and brings it to him in the tree, which apparently he's been hiding in all these years.
Yeah, that tree very much felt like a put a bunch of names on the corkboard or dartboard in the office and let's throw some darts. All right, yeah. The celebrity that the tree was donated to is Harry Houdini. All right, and where did the tree come from?
Yeah, Harry Houdini's not even Irish.
Yeah.
Well, the Irish believe that he was a warlock, maybe. Sure. They just didn't understand magic.
Yeah, that's why they sent him the leprechaun in the tree.
Yeah,
because they thought he could get rid of it as a warlock.
Yeah, that's what it was. The Irish are too dumb, essentially.
Those dumb, superstitious Irish people.
God
Take away
bless
their
them.
take away their potatoes, and they almost die out.
Well, maybe that's what Houdini did. He did like a little magic show, and he turned something into a potato. And they're like, "Oh my God, he's a god."
Now, do you think the Irish people got rid of the leprechaun, like they knew he was in there, or was it just coincidence?
Oh, so maybe they were being petty. Is that what you think?
I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to, like, every movie is almost like someone's trying to get rid of the leprechaun, right?
Right. That'd be hilarious. Like, oh, he's Houdini's problem now.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Harry.
It has to be planned though, because Leprechaun is tracking the whereabouts of the O'Days, so he does know by the 1912s. That I think the assumption is that they were on the Titanic, and that's how they got to America.
Okay.
Because that big in the drawings you see like a big line, like ocean liner.
That would make sense then.
Yeah. So
Again,
then he knew he'd have to get to America somehow.
Right.
They didn't think about all of this.
No,
This is the first time
didn't.
someone's thinking this far into this.
I think we thought more about this movie than anybody that made this movie.
So the leprechaun emerges from the tree, pissed that the whiskey is Canadian and not Irish, then uses some vines to hold the homeless guy in place while he yanks his gold tooth out. Then he lets the homeless guy go as he adds to the tooth to his pot of gold. Cody takes the tour to the go-kart track, and Bridget runs inside to talk to their friend Ian. And Ian is obviously trying to steal Bridget away from Cody in a love triangle story that basically got cut. Cody tries to talk to Bridget, but she blows him off, pissed that he broke their date. So he piles the customers back into the hearse, who are also pissed because it's an obvious scam. I did notice one thing that would have been, if in a better movie, in a non-Leprechaun movie, it is interesting how Cody refuses to take a night off from his job, but Ian immediately takes off his job for Bridget.
Yeah.
Team Ian, right?
Well, you would
Not
think
quite.
so. Yeah.
Because Ian ruins all the goodwill that we have for him
Very
immediately.
quickly. Record timing.
Yeah, he does get his comeuppance though, in the form of the lawnmower.
Also in record timing.
Yeah,
Like it's literally, hey, you owe me. I don't owe you anything. Well, then bye. And then 2 seconds later, Ian, why don't you come over here? I'll make it up to you. Like, okay. It's too quick for him to realize, I guess.
yeah.
He just
trying
wants
to get laid.
yeah, he just wants those boobies.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not that actress's boobies, I think.
That's body double.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would imagine that character just believed that he won her over, that she changed her mind because he's that good looking.
Yeah.
Again, it's literally like 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She rebuffs him, runs into the house. He starts walking down the street, and then she's there again in the garage.
Yeah.
Like, there was not enough time for her to get to where she needed to go.
He's not thinking with his head, man.
Well,
He's thinking with the
maybe-
little head.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe not his big head.
Yeah. He's just trying to get laid, man.
You know, honestly, 20-year-old Dan probably would have fallen for it as well.
It's a good thing the leprechaun doesn't really exist.
It's
Dan
a
would
good
have
point.
his face chopped off by a giant lawnmower.
Yeah, and I probably would have deserved it.
Yeah.
In one way or the other.
So Cody floors it to try and bring all the tourists back to where they started, but he winds up getting pulled over. Uncle Morty shows up at the precinct to bail Cody out, who only has a learner's permit and no insurance, among many other traffic violations. Morty tells the cops that he's Cody's legal guardian because his parents passed away 2 years ago. And meanwhile, the homeless guy gets taken in, raving about a little man in a green suit that stole his tooth. Leprechaun's on the streets. Okay.
I love the audacity of here of trying to sell the cop on being a franchise of his death tour.
All right. And Morty's always looking for his next scheme.
Mm.
Meanwhile, the homeless guy gets taken in. A leprechaun is on the streets of LA using his shillelagh as a divining rod to try and find his bride. When a talent agent tries to give him his card, but the leprechaun takes his gold ring and his finger instead.
And says a line that probably killed in the writers, finger looking good.
Mm.
Again, how does he know what KFC is?
Back at the apartment, Cody laments that he probably screwed it up with Bridget. Uncle Morty tells him that he did the right thing by giving the tour because you always go for the cash. And that's why Uncle Morty is an old drunk that has no friends. blades.
He's gonna die alone.
Yeah, he does.
And he does. And
Yeah.
you know what? I wasn't too sad about it.
No. And Morty's already on to his next scam, 3-card Monty. So yeah, there's no goodwill for Morty there. Ian drops Bridget off at her house and tries to angle for a way to come in and maybe get her in her pants, but she blows him off, saying that she's going out with Cody, and then he calls her a tease, so she punches him in the stomach and goes into the house. He is about to get in the car. He hears Bridget calling out to him, and she's in the garage and tells him that she made a mistake and wants to make it up to him. So she goes to the garage and starts taking off her shirt and then her bra and tells him to kiss her. He goes in for the kiss of her tits, but it's revealed that the leprechaun is playing tricks on him, and it's not Bridget, but it's a giant lawnmower. And he winds up sticking his face right into the blades.
I will have to agree with the Letterboxd review that this might be one of the best kills ideas that I've seen.
It's pretty good.
I like the creativity.
Yeah.
I was hoping that they would pull away and they'd show his face.
Mm,
I guess maybe too gory, or they didn't have the budget for it.
right. Yeah.
That would have been cool.
It would have been good. Yeah, you only see it briefly when he's hanging from the ceiling, I guess, when they're in the house.
Right.
Yeah, the doorway. Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the house, Bridget hears a knock at the door and thinks it's Ian not giving up, but it's actually Cody there to apologize. He gives her some flowers, and she says she can't stay mad at him. And she goes to put in the flowers in some water. Then the leprechaun makes her sneeze 3 times, and he immediately uses his telekinesis to wrap the phone cord around Cody's throat, something that can't happen in today's movies.
Yeah, a lot of kids would be like, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah. He manages to cut the wire with a knife, and then the leprechaun makes his appearance known, saying he's found his leprechaun bride. Cody threatens him with a knife. Leprechaun drops a bunch of pots and pans on his head. Bridget goes to run and get help, but when she opens the door, Ian's dead body is hanging there. Leprechaun says that she should have a ring if they are to be married, so he conjures his pot of gold and puts the shackle that William wore around his neck around hers. She knocks over the pot of gold, and while the leprechaun tries to gather all his gold, a shilling rolls to Cody's hand, and he grabs it without really thinking. Bridget goes to help Cody up to run, but the leprechaun hits Cody in the foot with a mallet, then bamfs with Bridget out of the house and into thin air.
A man after my own heart of bamfing away with something important to another person.
Mm-hmm. Takes her to the Houdini tree, which has some sort of underground cavern under it. She pleads with him to let her go, and he says that some whiskey will make her feel better. He also says that she has O'Day blood in her, which is why he has chosen her as his bride. So he goes to fetch her some whiskey, and she hits him in the head with a rock and makes a run for it. Catches up to her when she screams, seeing the skeleton of O'Day. And then he wraps her in some burlap. Then tells her that he plans to impregnate her with a litter of children, but he will have to make some alterations to her, as the children won't suckle if she doesn't look like him. I really wish the leprechaun wouldn't talk about his sex life.
That freaked me out. Like,
not something I need to hear.
Yeah. You know what? I thought he was going to pull an Abraxas on her.
Because he was say, you have my seed now.
You have my co-mater. I thought, because he was touching her stomach, I was like, is he going to impregnate her using his hand?
Right.
I thought we were going to get ready for a secundus. The old secundus.
It seems like the leprechaun does things the old-fashioned way.
Fellas out there, after listening to this podcast and you get busy with your significant others, pull a secundus on them, see what they do, and let us know.
You're now carrying my co-mater.
Yeah. Just you now have the anti-life equation, and get ready to be just drowning in the good stuff.
Can't wait to try that on my wife.
And we're divorced. Yeah, it did freak me out a little bit how he was talking about the suckling with the...
Yeah.
I didn't realize leprechauns give birth to more than... Are they like...
He calls it a litter.
Yeah, like, are they dogs?
I don't know.
Very
I
strange.
do not know. Yeah.
Again, we'll have to bring that up in our pitch meeting.
We have to solve this. Yeah.
Yes. Just put it on the whiteboard. How do they mate?
Yeah. I mean, there's no evidence that the leprechaun has actually had sex before. So he might not know. He might just be making shit up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know. He doesn't know how it works. So he's just seen.
He's seen goats.
Yeah, I was gonna say from Ireland, right?
Yeah.
So like goats and sheep. Like, oh, so they have more than one. Okay.
It's his notes. He's got notes of.
I can see that.
Yeah. Just assumes that like 9 leprechauns come out.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. He's seen animals do it, so he figures, well, that's how it must be with humans too.
Yeah, yeah, because he doesn't have a bride, and I'm assuming that leprechauns don't fuck out of wedlock.
Probably not. God, it must be like a fucking forest down there,
Probably.
right? It's never been touched.
Yeah. They might even like the leprechaun penises might even be like inside.
It's like what if it's like a turtle? It's like all spirally and weird.
I would think like it's gotta be weird, right? Like his face is weird. Why wouldn't his penis be weird?
It's magic. He has to have some kind of magical dick, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
It might not even look like what we think a dick looks like.
Maybe it's like a sheath.
It's a shillelagh. It's just a shillelagh.
All of this would definitely come up in Leprechaun in Hollywood.
100%. It would have to. And that's how he does his clubbing, right? He uses his shillelagh to beat people to death, and then he also uses a shillelagh to impregnate unfortunate women.
Yep.
We figured it out.
Yes, we did.
Good job, guys.
He then pours the contents of the pot of gold all over her because I think he plans to fuck her in the gold. Just gonna yeah. But then he realizes that one of his shillings is missing and demands to get it back. This is, hubris.
Yeah, you got your prize.
Yep.
You were this close, man.
And then he's just like, no, I need my single shilling back, idiot.
Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Before he leaves, she convinces him to cut her out of the burlap sack so she can make herself look pretty for him for the wedding night. He says she'll try to escape, but it won't work. But he's off and lets her go. She immediately goes to try and escape, but the tree is sort of a fun house, as it sometimes looks like her house and other times it looks like the cavern, until she winds up just back where she started. The leprechaun goes back to her house to find the shilling, but can't, but he overhears the cops say that the lone suspect in Ian's murder is Cody, because they found the note attached to the flowers. Cody goes back to his apartment and sees Uncle Morty talking to the cops. Morty spies him and waves him off, so Cody goes back around the back and sneaks into the apartment. With Morty back inside, Cody tells him that he saw a leprechaun and he has one of his shillings. So they read about leprechauns in a book, but Morty doesn't believe him until the leprechaun shows up and starts terrorizing them. He demands his shilling back, and Cody tries to barter with the leprechaun to trade the shilling for Bridget. Leprechaun says sure and crosses his fingers, but when Cody is about to give him the shilling, Morty drops a bookcase on the leprechaun, telling him never to trust leprechauns. Morty and Cody escape through the fire escape and notice that the leprechaun's hands burn when he touches the wrought iron bars on the window. Morty and Cody head to the bar and try to hide among a group of people at a St. Patrick's party. Cody goes to the bathroom and winds up getting some chocolate from Tony Cox.
I felt bad for Tony Cox. He looks like a psychopath in this movie.
He does, yeah.
Does he show up in other movies? Like, is he like a recurring joke with this?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Although he and Warwick Davis both played Ewoks.
They did.
So there's that tie-in, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Cody goes to meet with Morty at the bar, and Morty tells him the leprechaun has already found them. Leprechaun then sidles up next to them, demanding his shilling. Cody says once again he'll trade for Bridget, but the leprechaun says that he'll spare their lives and nothing more, and that Bridget is a married woman. So Morty says they should celebrate the leprechaun's wedding by having a drink, and goads the leprechaun into a drinking contest, while Morty is actually drinking soda and water. A bunch of little people cheer on the leprechaun as he gets absolutely trashed, can't really use his magic, let alone speak, and Morty and Cody think they have an advantage on him. But he distracts them by turning on the jukebox with his telekinesis, then hits Morty on the head with a bottle and runs. Morty does take that bottle on the head like a champ, though.
Yeah, not a problem. Just like, oh, I'm good.
They lose him, but they decide to go to the go-kart track in order to get the safe from the back room, which is made of wrought iron, and they plan to catch him in it.
This felt like the section of callbacks and like, remember this thing that was like just front and center in a scene?
Mm-hmm.
The drink, the safe, it was kind of like, see, we're good filmmakers. We planted all this stuff earlier in the movie.
Right. Yeah. We had a direction.
Yeah. They do the same thing in Leprechaun in the Hood with the safe, I believe.
Oh, was Ice Cube in that movie?
It was Ice-T.
Ice-T. Ice-T has the safe in his penthouse or his office.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember that. That's a good callback.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Bridget finds a box of leprechaun stuff and grabs an awl from it to use later, which an awl is like a tool used to make holes in leather, harkening back to the fact that he makes shoes.
Does that ever pop up in any of the movies?
As only in the first one, and I don't remember it ever coming back again.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause what happens? Like someone throws a shoe at him, and he has to stop and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, all right, we got to get rid of that. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, he has to clean them. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The leprechaun drinks a whole bunch of coffees at a coffee shop run by Mad TV's Michael McDonald, who's trying to get him to leave. And eventually the leprechaun burns him to death with steam from the coffee machine.
Michael McDonald, killed by both the leprechaun and Michael Myers.
There you go.
It's pretty good.
Cody and Morty make it to the go-kart place, but manage to trip the silent alarm, which brings out a security guard who handcuffs Morty to the hearse. Security guard hears a noise, so he goes to investigate inside, but Cody manages to hide inside the drop ceiling. But Leprechaun is there too. So Cody falls through, and the Leprechaun keeps after him, but eventually Cody tricks the Leprechaun to come after him, and he gets unwittingly crawled into the safe and locks him in it. Morty somehow gets out of the cuffs, I don't even remember how, and tells Cody to go into the back room and get some 2x4s so they can make a ramp for the safe. But then Morty locks Cody in the back room so he could barter with the Leprechaun for his 3 wishes. So Leprechaun relents, and Morty asks for the Leprechaun's gold. The Leprechaun gives it to him by filling Morty's belly with gold.
Yeah,
Morty asks, go ahead.
This is the one moment when, if it wasn't already obvious, shows you how bad of a person Morty is.
Mm-hmm. The effect's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just looks like a deflated bag for his stomach.
Especially when he moves to let Warwick Davis out of the safe.
Yeah.
It's not a good practical effect.
Not at all. Morty asks him to help, so the Leprechaun tells him to wish for the Leprechaun out of the safe. So he does, and lets the Leprechaun out of the safe. He then wishes for the gold out of his stomach. So the Leprechaun cuts him open and pulls all the gold out of his stomach. And then Morty dies. Cody manages to get out of the back room, and then the security guard tries to arrest him. But the Leprechaun calls out as Bridget to the security guard for help. He then runs over him with a personalized go-kart.
I hated that scene. It felt too cartoonish at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have anything close to something like that in this movie.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, this was the moment the series decided to jump the shark.
Right.
You just like pinpoint it.
Yeah. He almost runs over Cody too, but he actually just runs through Cody because Cody has the shilling and is protected by its magic. Man, that Cody realizes this, the Leprechaun disappears, and Cody grabs a wrought iron bar and heads to the tree. The Leprechaun beats him there, and he finds Bridget there, fawning all over him. She's doing this to let his guard down, and then she tries to stab him with the awl, but it bends and doesn't break skin. So he traps her against a stump with her neck shackle just as Cody is getting into the tree. Cody winds up having to fight the skeleton of William O'Day for a while, but defeats him. Bridget breaks free of her restraints, and they both try to escape, but they can't find their way out, and eventually they get separated. They eventually find each other again, and Bridget tells Cody to give her the coin, so he does, but it turns out that it's actually the Leprechaun in disguise. The real Bridget then materializes. But the coin Cody gave him is actually the chocolate coin that Tony Cox gave to him. And Cody then impales the Leprechaun with a wrought iron bar, and the Leprechaun explodes as Cody and Bridget run out of the tree. Then Cody drops the coin, saying it's not worth the trouble. And that is the end of Leprechaun 2.
I hate how it just ends.
Yeah, very abrupt.
Yep. Yeah, the Leprechaun explodes. Like, oh, it's not worth it. The end.
Mm.
Like, they didn't know how to end it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't hate it, but only because it was an hour and 25 minutes. If it was any longer, I probably would have hated it. It's not particularly good.
Yeah.
I disliked it less than I disliked In the Hood. I really didn't like In the Hood.
I think In the Hood was just offensive.
Yeah, from what I remember.
Yeah. So at least this wasn't. I mean, it wasn't. It was not that it wasn't offensive, but I guess not nearly as offensive. It gets points for not being as offensive, I guess.
Right.
Is that a thing? Can you give points for that?
Sure.
It was 1994.
Yeah, I think essentially this was them taking the feedback from the movie of people laughing about it, going, "Oh, we need to turn it into a comedy,"
right.
And then just not knowing how to do that correctly.
Mm.
I still like the first one because it took itself somewhat seriously.
Yeah.
I think obviously the first one's better than this. I like 3 a lot, and space is weird, but it's always good to go to space. You gotta go to space.
Yeah, I think space is something where if a movie decides to go there, it automatically you should automatically not take it seriously and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
So if you're expecting too much from a movie that takes place, well, not every movie obviously, but anytime a horror movie like that takes place in space, you just know, hey, we're gonna go all out with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's Leprechaun 2, and we've got one more segment coming up. And we are going to take a quick break. And while we do, you guys are going to listen to some ads so we can pay those bills. And we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time for the last segment of the night. And this is called Horror Sequels Explained Poorly. I am going to give you about one sentence that describes the plot of a horror sequel. And you have to tell me what it is. And I will tell you all of these are second parts in series.
Okay.
And we don't have to do this as like a competition. You guys could help each other out. And let's go. Let's try it. Okay, first one. A young man doesn't learn his lesson and gets into trouble while reading on his vacation again.
Evil Dead 2?
That's correct.
Nice, Mark.
All right, next one. A teen boy is afraid of his girlfriend's sexuality, so he spends time with his shirtless best friend and the man yearning to be inside of him.
Oh, that's Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yes, it is. Here's the next one. After overcoming a self-destructive pattern of behavior, a college girl is lured back into her old ways by a friend on a similar path. So it might be a little more difficult.
Oh, yeah. Self-destructive ways.
Self-destructive pattern of behavior.
Okay.
College girl is lured back into her old ways by a friend on a similar path.
Oh, boy. Oh, is it, I still know what you did last summer?
It is not. Good guess, though.
Yeah, the only thing I don't know, it's coming up in my head is just the sequel to the Babysitter movie. I know that.
Nope.
Killer Queen.
Yeah. Let me think.
It's a little more. It's a more recent film.
Okay.
Last 5 years or so.
Last 5 years. Okay. Self-destructive. Oh, is it Scream 5?
It is not. Remember, all
it's all two.
After overcoming a self-destructive pattern of behavior, a college girl is lured back into her old ways by a friend on a similar path.
Oh, boy.
This might be the toughest one. Do you want me to give it to you?
Yeah.
Happy Death Day to you.
Okay.
Oh, man. I like that movie, too.
All right, next one. Tensions between a young woman and her stepmom have hit an all-time high.
Carrie 2?
Nope.
Say it one more time.
Tensions between a young woman and her stepmom have hit an all-time high.
All-time. Oh, no. Oh, is it Hellraiser 2?
Yes, it is.
Oh, nice.
I wouldn't have got that, so I'm glad I did the joke answer at first.
Next one. A maniac cop terrorizes the town he swore to protect as he can't overcome his own demons.
Maniac Cop 2?
Nope.
Maniac Cop. Say one more time. I'm sorry.
A maniac cop terrorizes the town he swore to protect as he can't overcome his own demons.
Mark, you got anything?
No, I'm thinking. I'm trying to think of cop horror movies.
Oh, no. I was going to say The Devil's Rejects, but
That's not a 2, right?
It's the second one from House of a Thousand Corpses.
Right.
But
it's not the answer, though.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, this is where me not being well versed in a lot of things comes into play. Let's see. I've never seen it, but Halloween 2?
Nope. Guys, give up.
Psycho 2? I haven't seen Psycho 2, but
Give up.
yeah, I give up.
Jaws 2.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
Absolutely.
That's good.
He terrorizes the town? I guess so.
The first half of that movie.
Yeah,
he's
it's him going
running
crazy. Yeah.
Pretty
Good
good.
point.
Yeah. Okay, next one. A group of looters get what's coming to them.
So the first thing I'm thinking of is Don't Breathe, but that's the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Group of looters gets what's coming. Is it the Child's Play 2?
Nope.
I want to say, but I always get the wording of these wrong, but if I have the right series, at least hopefully you'll give me half a point. Night of the Living Dead?
It's the right series, the wrong movie.
It's Dawn of the Dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job, Mark.
Yeah.
I completely forgot that there's a biker gang in Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, the whole time Dan was sitting there thinking of an answer, I'm like, is it dawn or night? I don't know which one it is.
I think I got 2 more.
Okay.
Murderers that have gone without prosecution try to forget their troubles with a well-deserved vacation.
All right. Murderers that have escaped prosecution.
Try to forget their troubles with a well-deserved vacation.
I'm thinking there's a funny answer in here, but this isn't I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, right?
It is I Still Know What You Did.
Wow. Oh, you're right, because essentially they did murder somebody.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, there we go. The only reason I said that was like, I remember the second movie about them going away from the town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That
we've got Jack Black and terrible dreadlocks.
That's all I could remember.
Right. Oh, gosh.
Okay, last one. A guy with an affinity for young girls stands in the way of a boy trying to reunite with his mother.
Okay. Is this something that we would have seen? I'm assuming so, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I have a legitimate answer and a funny answer.
Okay.
Go for it.
So, legitimate answer would be Friday the 13th, too.
That's correct.
Nice.
I was
Wow.
going to say Stalked by My Doctor, too.
Nope. Friday the 13th Part 2. Yep, and I think that's it.
Mark, killing
Yeah,
it.
killed it on this one, yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. It's only context clues, really. You know,
Yeah, I definitely didn't try and make it too difficult for you guys, or else then you guys wouldn't get it, and that's not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't saying you made it too easy. It was just like I was taking the context clues of what you were saying, like boy trying to reunite with his mother, and I just remembered the shrine with the skull and all that. I was like, okay, that would make sense. I don't remember the guy with an affinity for young girls at first.
Oh, the main camp counselor.
The main counselor. After you said I was correct, I was like, oh yeah, that is a plot point.
My guess was going to be Halloween too, but I was like, he's not trying to go see his mother.
Yeah.
But he had an affinity towards a young girl. That was
good.
That was fun.
That was horror sequels explained poorly. And that's our episode as we watched Leprechaun 2 for St. Patrick's Day. And happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way, if we haven't said that already. But that has been our episode. You could hit us up on all our social medias, Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod, and on the TikTok at They Called Us a Movie. If you want to hit us up, got a movie you want to have us watch and review, drop us an email at tictampod@gmail.com. And while you're there, you have some time. If you're emailing us, you got plenty of time. Why don't you go onto your podcatcher of choice and give us a 5-star review? It helps out a great deal. And yeah, that's the episode. So why don't you go out, get super drunk, fight a Scottish man.
And remember, at least in the city of Philadelphia, you can eat meat on St. Patty's Day, even though it is a Friday in Lent. The Archbishop waved it away and said God would understand.
You guys half-assing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
He knows where half of his archdiocese celebrates.
Right. Yeah. He's got to appease them.
Yeah. So go eat some corned beef and cabbage, fight a Scot, and listen to the Dropkick Murphys. Maybe the Pogues too.
Dropkick Murphys, this is when they shine, man. This is the one time of the year people care about them.
Yep. They just got to do their stretches, and they're out.
Are they the Michael Bublés of St. Patrick's Day?
I think they are, yeah.
Have to be, right? Like, because Michael Bublé, every time December rolls around,
he gets wheeled out.
Yeah. He emerges from his slumber.
All right. We're going to get out of here. The director of Leprechaun 2 is the fake name Rodman Flender. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Davecchio telling Rodman Flender, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.